Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the August 26, 2025 meeting of the Shrewsbury Select Board. We will start with introducing the board and staff members present. I am Teresa Flynn.
Beth Cassavant.
Michelle Conlon.
Carlos Garcia.
Greg Richards.
Kevin Mizikar, Town Manager.
Keith Balding, our Assistant Town Manager for Operations.
Justin Dobson, Assistant to Town Manager.
The first item on our agenda is to approve the bills, payrolls, and warrants.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Item number 2 is to review and act to approve the minutes of the August 12th, 2025 meeting.
I do have a question on the minutes, just real quick. I don't know if it's maybe the right time, but I'll throw it out there. On the item 10, there's just a dialogue around the 104 Main Street and the MHP. I know that one of the things that was discussed, it wasn't explicitly in the minutes, and I don't necessarily think it needs to be, but was around, I believe we discussed that the consultant was going to support the ZBA at the ZBA meeting, and they were supposedly supposed to be at the ZBA meeting of last night, but they weren't. So I was just kind of curious if that was the right time to say an update on what was the status with that, because that wasn't there for
Yes.
the
So there's a issue with the mailing that went out to the abutters. It cited the wrong day and time for the hearing. We hand-delivered notices to all those abutters correcting it on Friday afternoon, but the developer was concerned that that could be a procedural challenge that they would have to face in court, and requested that the hearing be postponed and re-advertised and mailed to all
But
the.
I thought that was 409, not 104.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, that was 409. That was 409. But
Yeah, so I was
Yep.
talking, this is about 104.
Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
MHP grant was for 104 Main.
Yep, you're right. I apologize. Yep. So what was your question? Sorry.
It was that you had mentioned that the understanding was because they were supposedly going to talk about waivers and that the ZBA would have the consultant at the next ZBA meeting,
Okay.
which was last night.
Yep.
They weren't there.
The consultant was.
The consultant, so I didn't know
Got
if
it.
there was a change in schedule or if that was still.
I don't know the answer to that, but I can
Okay.
certainly get back to you on it.
So are we approving these minutes or amending these minutes or? Are the minutes okay?
The minutes are okay. I'm okay with the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't in there. I just wanted to ask the question because I remember talking about it. I didn't say it doesn't need to be in there. I'm okay
Okay,
with that
perfect.
specific.
Just want to make sure you're good.
Yeah.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Item number 3 is announcements and reports. Do any board members have announcements or reports this evening? Okay. Item number 4 is the town manager's report. Mr. Mizikar?
Board members, I just wanted to share the good news that the town has been awarded a competitive Green Communities grant in the amount of $189,304. Rough breakdown of the use of those funds will be $100,000 for weatherization and HVAC system improvements, a heat pump system for the Raystone Post, where we just did a lot of renovations for the recreation department. So that scope of work wasn't included, but now that we have the Green Communities grant, we can take on that energy efficiency initiative. And then the balance, about $84,000, will go to the continued LED lighting upgrades at the high school. So $189,000 in a competitive grant that we received from Green Communities. That's it.
Great news, thank you. Item number 5 is public comment. No one signed up this evening, and just a reminder that we encourage residents to let us know if they are interested in speaking at future meetings. Item number 6 on our agenda is a 7 o'clock hearing to review and act on the betterment request for John Street pursuant to the Resident Street Betterment Program. Mr. Schuman, I believe you're going to come up. So just by way of background, residents of John Street submitted a petition in October of 2023 to convert their private way to public way. This includes some reconstruction for which property owners would be assessed a portion of the cost based on their frontage along the street. So our town engineering department has met with residents and reviewed initial cost estimates, and our town engineer, Mr. Truman, is here to give us an update
Yep, so yeah, we met with the residents last year. We did the initial vote, which is an original estimate, so that moved forward. So typically then we move forward with a more detailed design, a more construction project. We also kind of wanted to get Fryback and Cutler off the books before we brought another one on. So we did finalize our estimate based on our rates of the minute. It's about $470,000 to do the street betterment, of which the town will pay half, and the residents will pay half. And we did upstate the spreadsheet. There's also a drawing up there if residents want to look and see what the numbers are. So they did slightly increase from what we gave last year. We did have to do the drainage. We also have to do the water main, which we don't include in the betterment, but we will have to replace the water main as part of the work. So the total estimated construction cost, including the water main, is just under $680,000.
Okay. So, just by way of process, would there be further refinement of
So
this?
yeah, so this is the final number. So essentially, we are guaranteeing this is the maximum price, which is why we like to take our time and make sure we get the numbers right. Because, as we know, with Fryback and Cutler, they traditionally come under what we estimated. But if they go over, then the town is responsible for that difference. So this is.
I didn't catch what you said.
So this is basically the maximum. This is what we would call a guaranteed maximum price. This is the most that we will say it's going to cost. So your share is based on that. So if for some reason the project comes in over budget, the town has to find the extra money. So that's why we take the extra time to do the design and make sure the numbers are pretty tight, because I have to hold the numbers for the next couple of years.
And what's the difference between them?
Ma'am, may I just, I'm going to ask the board members to just see if they have any questions for Mr. Truman, and then I'm going to open it up for public comment. So, no apologies, but you'll definitely have opportunity to speak or ask questions. But board members, any comments or questions yet?
We don't do these very often, but it's
No.
pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, historically we used to do a lot of them, but yeah, a lot of times they don't get through the first round of voting once we tell people what their share of the cost is, as I'm sure some board members know. But the last two have gone through. We actually have another one that's just started 2 on Barrows, just to update the board too. That will be coming down the road. But yeah, this is personally my only second one that we've done, so it is somewhat still a learning curve.
I do have a question. I just wanted to make sure that I see here in the February 2024 meeting, the first meeting, there was one household that was not present. I just wanted to make sure that they are up to speed on the costs and everything.
So we would present the costs tonight because we just finalized them.
Right.
So we did obviously send out the letters a couple of weeks ago with proxy votes. We do encourage people to reach out to us if they have any questions. But this is probably the first time they're seeing the updated numbers.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there copies of those numbers? Like, I can see people kind of straining to see the numbers.
We can't.
It's hard to vote on it when you can't see it. I don't know
Yeah,
if
you
we can
can
turn
turn.
this, if that helps you.
Turn that one. I mean, I've got
Yeah, that would help.
This was
This? I don't want to touch it. Someone else.
I've got a board here too. I did bring it down if you want to.
Was this mailed out to all the abutters? The numbers mailed out to all the
Yeah,
abutters.
that's my understanding.
Yeah, this is legible.
Okay.
I'll zoom in a little bit too.
Yeah, oh, definitely take a picture.
Mr. Truman, does the 680 include the cost to replace the water?
Correct. Yeah. So we backed
Okay.
that out. So the number that the development is based on is 470. So
400, so that is
That's-
the
yeah, that's that-
50%
yep.
that's shared, so the
yeah, because
town.
we can't charge betterments for water main improvements. So,
Okay,
but we obviously do want to replace it because it's old. And
so you're looking at like 430,000.
470 would be our estimated cost right now for the residents' share. I mean, for the total project. So theirs is 277,000.
So the town's expense
Yeah.
would be around 470, or 430, 420. Can't do math in my head. Very well. Four something,
Yes,
over
it is right
400.
there on the bottom. Sorry.
Is that, am I correct?
I mean, essentially, the town has to front the whole money up, which is where it gets a little tricky, right? So we essentially have to find the whole betterment and then as explained last time, once it's completed, then we do a lien for 20 years, or they can pay the cost once it's completed.
So just by way of process, while we may vote to accept this request, it still has to go through to town meeting.
Correct.
For approval,
So we'd
and
have,
funding, et cetera.
we'd have to have a funding source that we would recommend for town meeting's consideration. So once that funding source would be identified, it would then go to town meeting for the appropriation to happen, and if the appropriation happens, the road work would be done, and then the betterments
Yeah, we
made
would.
and the liens would be issued.
Yeah, if it's approved at town meeting next year, then we would go out to bid next year and do the construction over 18 months.
Okay.
So essentially what we're basically going to do is take a roll call vote for the residents. So I gave Mr. Dobson that spreadsheet that we did last time. It should automatically tally the frontage as we do it. But
Okay. I'd like to open up to members of the public. If you'd like to speak or ask questions, I would ask that you come up and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you for hearing us. This is a very happy day for us. I'm Rebecca Hanson Richardson, 17 John Street. So I didn't hear much of what you said,
oh, sorry.
almost nothing. I wished you had been standing here so we could hear you more clearly. Your accent is not the barrier, it's just, you're facing this way. But can you tell us the difference between, we first heard the figure 476,000, and then the figure 680,000.
So yeah, so the 470,000 is basically what it's going to cost for the road construction. Typically what we do as part of that work, we would look to upgrade any infrastructure in the road. So the water main is pretty old, so we are upgrading the water main. That's about $200,000. But under the betterment program, we can't assess that to the residents, so that will be paid separately out of a separate project. So essentially, much like the last time, you will pay half of the $471. That's what we would figure out.
The 470.
Yeah.
You heard that? Could you hear that, Harry? No. So we would pay half of the 470,000 because the upgrade of the water main, which is the town responsibility, which also has to be done, and that's about $200K. Okay. Okay. So the number that I'm seeing on there that is the responsibility assessed cost for example, us, is quite a bit more than what it was in the meeting that we had before.
Yeah, they do go up, and I think we ended up doing the drainage, which I don't know if they included in the original estimate, but we realized that we had to do the storm drainage.
Does that account for the whole increase? Because it's more than twice what we were originally.
Well, that and just prices have come up. Prices keep going every year, so.
So it's an increase in price, but also the addition of the storm drainage?
We are doing storm drainage, yes. I mean, when we do the original estimate, we don't do a full design. We kind of do an engineering, quick design and engineering estimate, so, that
Yeah.
number's a little lower. So when we come back, this is why when we come back, the number one is
Yeah.
usually a little higher.
I think we were prepared for sticker shock, but this is like sticker shock, right? It's a big difference. It's more than twice. So also, when you mentioned the funding sources, what are the funding sources sounds like kind of iffy. I mean, is the array of funding sources, and how likely is it that a funding source can be found?
So traditionally, we've utilized what's called free cash, which is available fund balance of the town to dedicate to roadway improvements. And that's just reviewed on a priority basis on, every year that we go through it. So this is, about 25%, represents about 25 or less percent of our annual roadway improvement projects. Mostly we use Chapter 90, which is state funding for that. And for projects like this, we've dedicated free cash to it. I don't want to make it sound like it's guaranteed, and I don't want to make it sound like it's impossible, but there's a process that we have to go through as we develop the budget, look at all the revenues and what the priorities are for spending, and then make a decision, sometime in the midwinter to early spring about whether we're comfortable making that recommendation for town meeting to consider voting on it.
So we'll be informed.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then when it comes to town meeting, is there any appreciable or any increased cost to the taxpayers of Shrewsbury for this project?
Technically, yes. I mean, that second half of the funding is coming from tax dollars. And the water main replacement is coming from water rates that are paid by taxpayers within the community.
So but you won't be saying, will you be saying to the town meeting, look, here's the increase that you're paying for this?
There won't be an increase on their tax bill, but we are using taxpayer dollars.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess my question had to do with whether there's an increase that people will be saying,
No.
yeah. Okay, that's all I can think of for now. Thank you.
Yeah, the names in the spreadsheet are old or,
Out of date.
yeah, because it still has Blanche there, she doesn't own the property anymore. And yeah, yeah, Gabriel is still in Charles.
So Blanche Provost.
trust.
Right, she doesn't own the property anymore. She
Yeah.
passed away, actually.
It's
but-
sold, the trust persists, but it was sold to the.
Yeah. Their names there.
It is, so, it needs to be updated.
Yeah, it may be that we didn't get the updated list from the assessors, I can double check, but typically, we get the latest address into your butters.
Is your name on there, Gabriel?
I mean, we did hand deliver the letters because
Right.
that's what happens, sometimes they get transferred, so we typically hand deliver the letters so people have them and then they can either pass them on to the potential buyers.
I think, can you explain why these residents are surprised by the final cost? Were they not made aware of the final cost before they came forward to vote?
So we have not, historically, no, we just usually come with the next one. I mean, usually people ask us what the numbers are, but, I mean, maybe moving forward, we should do that, but, yeah.
Are they indeed twice what,
I would have to go
Residents
back
were
and check, I
expecting?
don't off the top of my head.
more than twice?
Our initial quote was $14,800, and theirs was $12,000. Now ours is $31,000.
So I'd be a little bit concerned with asking people to vote. Maybe you don't feel this way. You may need to go back and recalculate whether or not you want to vote on this evening.
Yeah.
I don't want to force a vote on residents who are not certain of the numbers.
I agree.
Well,
But
I
I don't-
don't know, speaking for myself, I am so tired of that road.
It's
It's so bad. Cars are scraping. It's, friends want to meet at White City instead of driving down the road to pick me up, okay? I'm ready to go forward.
Your
I don't
choice.
want any more delays. I don't know how you feel about it.
Does everyone sort of have a consensus around that then?
Okay, Mr. Sherman, do you want to move forward with your
Sure.
vote?
I mean, typically we just read the addresses off the list, and I don't know if Mr. Dobson's going to check them, but the first one I have is 163, 165 South Quinsigamon Ave. There's no one here from that one? No? Okay, we did get one proxy, but did you? Is that one, or is that a different one?
That's that one.
Okay. 167 South Quinsigamon Ave. Five 7 John Street. Here. Was that a yes? Yes. Okay. 11 John Street. 12 John Street.
here.
14 John Street.
Right, just,
Can you just,
are we voting?
if you're voting, it should be a yes or a no, or a
Yes.
yay or nay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
17 John Street.
Yes.
18 John Street. And 22 John Street.
Yes.
So the process is,
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, did we get a vote from 12 and 14 John Street?
There's no one present.
N-
Oh, 12.
11, I had no one present, 12, I had
14 is-
yes.
It's 13.
13 and 14?
I don't have that on my list.
Really?
The proxy vote was for, I believe, for the PEGs.
Okay.
Mm.
That's funny.
You have the proxy,
Yeah, we got one proxy.
so is that, have you
That would be yes.
noted it?
Was that for the first one, 163 through 165?
Is that 14?
So 12 has voted yes, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's okay. I'll trust Justin.
And 447.
He's in the document, like I'm watching him do it.
Proxy,
Someone's in this document.
I think it's,
Yeah, check the file.
no, I think it's, we got an envelope today, so
Watching
if I could go
Yeah, we
grab
need to
it,
go
grab
right
that. Yeah, I'll do that now.
Sorry, we just need to grab the documentation on the proxy vote to include that, so if you could just give us a moment.
Yeah.
I think Greg's in the same document I am because he also asked about that.
Yeah, but that was only if you weren't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
We actually pay a storm drainage fee and their taxes.
Should we go?
So if you have a question, they're more than happy to take questions.
I just have a quick
Yeah.
question. Michael Mielkin, 5 John Street. You added the drainage, right?
Correct.
Is it required or good to have?
It is required, yes.
Right.
Because typically, we have to bring the street up to subdivision standards as best we can.
Yep.
So,
Okay, so it's by code?
yeah.
I think while we wait for the proxy vote, I would just ask for, in the future, for the residents who are trying to go through this process to get the information a bit sooner. so
I
they can
don't
have-
disagree, yeah. I think,
So-
you know, this, we're still figuring out the process, so I think we
Right.
need to update it.
I know it's not common. I've tried it myself on my road. I live on a private road myself, so I know it can be a long process, so.
Well, given that you said there's another one on the heels of this one,
Barrows, yes.
all right.
Should we go to like brief recess while we wait for Justin? So we're not on like dead air? Matter. We'll fast forward through.
Understand what you're saying.
We had known.
It happened last night on CBA. 2 nights ago on CBA. We just like dead air for a couple minutes. Just hang around. We should get some like music. We're gonna need to tell you. I can't make it.
If anyone is wondering, I was going to move around to some other agenda items, but because we still have a public hearing open, Kevin says we can't. Just have to wait this one out.
Would it be okay to ask a question about the time?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Might as well use this time more productively.
Rebecca Hanson Richardson, 17 John Street. Can we ask something about the estimated time frame?
Mhm.
Should a funding source be found, should the town meeting say yes, then what does it look like for accomplishing the project?
So typically we would, if we get approval at town meeting, we would have the bid documents, you know, almost ready to go, so we can get it out to bid. It's probably about an 18-month process to build it, so it really, unfortunately, the way town funding is, obviously, it doesn't become until July, so we can't procure it. So we start late in the season of construction, but we theoretically could be starting next year if it gets approved at town meeting and funding's available.
This is by 25.
Okay. So, given that there is 50% vote that is required to pass, that would enable this board to move forward with our vote. Any additional comments or questions from residents present? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I will now entertain a motion on the betterment request.
So I move that the board approves the betterment request for John Street pursuant to the Resident Street Betterment Program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Item number 7 on our agenda is to review and act to set the time, date, and location for the fall special town meeting, which will be on Wednesday, want to emphasize the Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025, at 7 PM at Oak Middle School, 75 Oak Street. And while I believe traditionally the meetings start on Mondays, this is scheduled to start on a Wednesday. So board members, any discussion, questions, et cetera?
I just had a quick question. I'm wondering if there's been any updates from the moderator on the electronic voting implementation committee that he discussed at the
I've
last?
not heard from the moderator on that, but I will reach out this week.
Thank you.
Do you know if our plan is to use it for this town meeting?
when we requested quotes, we did identify that as a date that the vendor should be available. Obviously, we have to work with the moderator on that implementation committee, so.
We're still also waiting on the Attorney General's office to approve our bylaw, so we don't have that yet.
Okay,
So,
It'll be
Yeah, so
September
we'll do this
1. Yeah, so within the next week, we should know.
okay. So more to come on that. Any other comments or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we set the date and time for the special fall town meeting on Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025, 7 PM at Oak Middle School.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 8 is to review and act to adopt the vote prepared by Bond Council for borrowing $15 million through the Mass Clean Water Trust under loan number DWEC 2472 and to sign the note closing documents. So this is to fund the construction of the Home Farm PFAS treatment plant and is a continuation of action taken at the 2024 annual town meeting when Article 28 was approved, which authorized the Select Board to apply, accept, and expand any state or federal aid for the purposes of funding the $18.5 million appropriation for the construction of the PFAS treatment plant. So while this is all a continuation and part of a process that has been approved, I think it's important for us to just reflect on how we got here and what this purpose is when we're talking about an amount of this magnitude. So, Mr. Mizikar.
Sure. So I'll start with the financial mechanism that we're using, which is the Clean Water Trust Fund. The Clean Water Trust Fund is an instrument of the state and often utilizes federal funding to cover critical infrastructure improvements for water and sewer projects, this obviously being a water project. The reason that we like to use them most times is because they're very advantageous interest rate and how the loans are structured. So the loans are structured such that every 2 years approximately, the state goes out and borrows funding and actually issues formal notes. And in the interim period, we're actually not paying any interest, but we're able to receive the funding and begin spending. So we have basically a 0% interest loan during sometimes a significant part of the project. The second aspect is the long-term interest rate associated with the SRF program is 1.5% interest. So really beats the interest rate that we would even be able to obtain through the market with our AAA bond rating. I just talked with our financial advisor this week. They would estimate that the market rate that we would receive is about 4% right now. So quite a substantial savings over time using the Clean Water Trust. It's a competitive process to get the Clean Water Trust funding. So we did an application and we competed with other communities in the state and had a good application and our project was funded. This all goes back to 2019 when PFAS kind of, came on the scene and started to get oversight by both the state and federal governments. And the federal government, DEP, came out with regulatory standards that we have to be in compliance with by calendar year 2027. So we need to get moving on this project. We found a very low-cost mechanism to borrow for these funds. The other somewhat silver lining of this is the town participated in a class action lawsuit against PFAS manufacturers, and we were awarded about $4.5 million. That $4.5 million will contribute to the debt service, so it actually will be a lower cost to water ratepayers. So it's a really good financial mechanism that we've been able to put in place to, one, offset cost using court settlement funds, and all while incurring a very low interest rate for a $15 million project. So it's a little bit different than our traditional school or municipal building projects where we have a formal committee that oversees this. We do this through DPW and engineering process. These are very technical and complicated buildings, and it's overseen by our consulting engineers and specialized architects who develop the specs for these. So it feels a little bit different, but the outcome of the project is always to make the greatest investment and utilize the least taxpayer, in this case ratepayer funds, to accomplish it. So Yeah, it's been a long process since 2019 when we notified the community that we were exceeding those levels in certain wells. And in about 18 months, we should have the plant up and running and have levels at non-detect for the community.
Just one question. So this funding source it's a state funding source. So how confident are you that it is secure, given that there have been changes at the federal level in terms of the amount of PFAS that's acceptable in water systems?
Yeah, so these funds are, with these closing documents, the funds are in hand, so there's no risk that, like, they're there already. They're allocated to Shrewsbury. The funds are in the state coffers, and we've actually already started spending them. So they're there right now.
Okay, thank you.
And what is, just a clarification on the total budget, what was the award for? So was the 18.5 just excess of what we needed? Would we only need the 15 million? Is that what you're saying?
The total project cost is 15.8 million.
Okay.
The initial cost estimate was 18.5 million, and then when we went out to bid, more favorable results resulting in the 15.8. So, yeah, it's came in pretty well under what our original estimate was.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion?
I move the board adopt the vote prepared by bond counsel for borrowing $15 million through the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust under loan number DWEC-24-72 and to sign the note closing documents.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 9 is to review and act on the one-day beer and wine license application of Xander Garfinkel. Apologize if I said that wrong. And I'm not sure if it's we or OUI Cocktails. I'm thinking maybe we. For a concert located at 378 Main Street on October 24th, 2025, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So Ms. Garfinkel will be providing bartending services for a jazz concert in the auditorium at St. John's High School, and she is not required to be here as she has been approved for a one-day license in the past without issue, and town staff has confirmed that Ms. Garfinkel has provided all of the required application materials. So if there are no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 10 is to review and act on the one-day beer license application of Jesse Tarble, Sterling Street Brewery for the Shrewsbury Food Truck Festival located at 150 Maple Avenue on September 13th, 2025 from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mr. Tarble is not required to attend the meeting as he has been approved for a one-day license in the past without issue. And again, town staff has confirmed that Mr. Tarble has provided all of the required application materials. So, entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item number 11 is to review and act on the road closure request of Sandy LaRoe, First Congregational Church, for a portion of Church Road on September 7th, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. for a church picnic. Police Chief Kevin Anderson and Fire Chief Seth Colby have reviewed the request and do not have any concerns.
I move the board approve the road closure request of Sandy LaRoe on behalf of the First Congregational Church for a portion of Church Road on September 7th, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item number 12 is to review and act on the road closure request of Smita Sina, 74 Colonial Drive for Ramsgate Place on August 30th, 2025, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. for a neighborhood party. Again, our police chief and fire chief have reviewed the request and do not have any concerns.
Move approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 13 is to review and act to appoint 10 members to the Form of Government Study Committee. We received 20 applications, and 15 were town meeting members and 5 additional residents, so for a total of 20. And our process is that when we are voting on placement on boards or committees, that each board member votes independently and confidentially prior to our meeting. And then Mr. Dobson compiles the results and provides them to the chair immediately before the meeting. So it is our practice to look at who received the most votes. We have 9 individuals and then a tie for the 10th place. So just to add a little excitement to our process. So the residents receiving the most votes, we have Andrew Nelson, Michael Burns, Mark Adler, Sandra Frick, Benjamin Rudolph, Dadine Garnett, Bridget Malie Rubin, Carrick O'Brien, and Patrick Pitney. So,
Could you read them again? You did it so fast and I don't have it in front of me unless.
sorry,
And
do
I'm,
it again.
'cause if I have to make a motion, I need their names.
Oh,
And it's too quick.
yes, no. Andrew Nelson.
Yep.
Michael Burns, Mark Adler, Sandra Fitz, Benjamin Rudolph, Dadine Garnett, Bridget Malie Rubin, Carrick O'Brien, and Patrick Pitney.
Okay, thank you.
So, wondering if we vote on the 9 and then do a separate vote on the 10th? Just because we need a tiebreaker.
I think that makes sense.
So, no?
I think that makes sense.
So I'll entertain a motion to
I
appoint.
guess I don't need all those, I guess I can
I
just
think you
say
can move the-
so moved with the names as the chair read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. So we have our 9 committee members. And then we have 2 residents, Brian Costello and Colleen Corbett, who are tied for the 10th slot. And so I will entertain a motion. We can vote them separately, or I don't know if we want to have any discussion as to the preference, but
I just
maybe leave it up
need
to.
1 second. I just want to refresh my memory on their
Mhm.
applications. All right, thank you.
So maybe I'll just go in order. That they're on my sheet. I think that's alphabetical by first name. So I'll entertain a motion to appoint Brian Costello to the Forum of Government Study Committee.
So what are we supposed to do? Seconded?
You can second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Nay.
No.
So, motion does not pass. I'll entertain a motion to appoint Colleen Corbett to the Form of Government Study Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 4-1. I'm really grateful for the residents that step forward, and we are always interested in looking at other opportunities for people that have raised their hands for an opportunity where they were not placed on the board or committee for which they applied. So continue to keep a list of those individuals and reach out when we think there are related opportunities that might be of interest. So related, item number 14 is to review an act to appoint 1 select board member to the Form of Government Study Committee. So the charge calls for 10 resident members, which we just voted on, and 1 select board member. And I polled the board, and we have 2 members that are interested. So I think, why don't we state our case, and then we'll take a vote. So, Mr. Richards?
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess to put it kind of bluntly here, you know, I think, actually, I'm kind of the reason why we're even talking about a form of government study. I think this kind of started back, if we went back to last fall, with the citizens petition that I did regarding making our planning board an elected board from an appointed board. And in the discussions, you know, with the finance committee and the select board at the time, in those hearings, a lot of things came out about, you know, how the Town Manager Act was created back in 1953, why the structure was done how it is, why a lot of positions went from, you know, elected to appointed, and what kind of drove that. And even after, you know, even though that failed, let's say at town meeting, I think it created a lot of good dialogue. And even at that select board meeting right after that, there was actually dialogue and comments about, you know, how what happened at town meeting and the conversations around our structure of government really predicated in that meeting launched. I think Chairman John Sammy at the time actually asked Kevin to look with town council at starting an investigation. What does it look like? What does this form of government look like? Then after that, you know, as part of a referendum process, which we challenged, you know, as part of that, really dug into some of that Town Manager Act again. You know, we ran into things like, you know, hours of voting. Why was it 2 to 8 p.m.? You know, what was the threshold of a referendum? Why was it this 20% of people had to come out and vote? And even dialogue multiple times around the voter mailers. You know, why was that done? And that's all part of that original Town Manager Act. You know, prior to coming on the board, you know, all the time I spent on the unselects, challenging, researching, investigating local government issues, even doing an episode specifically about the form of government and what other towns had done, what structures are available, and really digging into that and being really interested in that. You know, and I think when you look at how is this representative from this board going to impact that, I think, you know, if we're really looking, you know, to change the status quo, I think you have to be willing to challenge the status quo. And I think I've proven I've done that through a number of those things, even prior to my time on this board. It is a large committee. It's a large group of people. And you need a, you know, kind of a strong leader to make sure we're going down the right path to make sure this is effective. It's going to take a lot of time. There's a lot of research that needs to be done, and everything has to be vetted out. And I think we have to be willing to challenge some of the norms of what we've done in Shrewsbury since 1953. And we need somebody on that board and a representative who's able to do that. And I think I fill that slot, and I think, you know, I will be able to serve that committee well, should I be so appointed. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Garcia?
Colleagues, I'm also very interested in serving on the Form of Government Study Committee. I've had a strong passion for local government for a very long time. It's what encouraged me to study psychology and political science together at Assumption College. It's what encouraged me to run for town meeting at the age of 20 and speak with residents to state my case to them about why I would like to represent them at town meeting. And I've been very involved with local government for since that time. My passion for government also is what led me to eventually become, and currently still am employed at the Commonwealth at the Attorney General's office. And I think that through that experience and through that, through my role at the Attorney General's office has allowed me to develop a network of municipal leaders across Massachusetts that I think will be an asset to me as we, as a committee, look to see what other communities have done to better serve the residents of their communities. And I certainly would bring those, I would go into those conversations with an open mind to learn about, you know, what works, what doesn't. And I'm really excited about the community engagement opportunity that this committee will have with engaging with residents all across from various different groups, so that we are creating a community that, a local government that best serves our community. And, you know, I have been talking about, with residents about this for a very long time. I know that there have been folks in our community who have been very passionate about doing a charter review for a very long time. and I've been involved with many of those conversations with those residents and have continued to have those conversations as I've served not just on this board, but also on the Finance Committee and, of course, as a town meeting member. So I would be honored to serve on this committee, and that's it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I mean, I have a couple of comments, I guess. I think that I'm thrilled to see the number of residents that were interested in this, but I'm also very glad to see that 2 of my colleagues are interested in this, and I think that you would both be able to fill the role and fill the role well. So my decision around which of you to appoint is certainly not something that's an easy decision to make. I think that you've both demonstrated interest in this subject matter, but when I look at the overall group and the stakeholder outreach, which is such a large part of what this group is going to be doing, I have some reservations about the ability to sort of be impartial about it. And I know, Greg, that you're super passionate about this, but I also think that, by going into it looking to challenge the status quo, I don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we're already discounting the form of government that we currently have. And so it's not an easy decision, but I am leaning towards supporting Carlos in this. He's demonstrated an interest in this committee since basically when you were talking about, the citizens petition for the planning board. And we first started having those initial conversations. I know your ears perked up, your eyes lit up, like you were like, this is something I really want to pursue and really want to do. And so I do want to honor your interest in this and the involvement that you've had in local government up until this point. But I just think that there's also a role for all of us to play in this committee. And so even though there's one member of the select board that's going to be our representative, I think we all have a really important role to play in making sure that the work that's done, takes into account all voices and different viewpoints, and that we try to keep a really open mind around whatever the committee comes forward with as a recommendation. I don't think I'd be very good on the committee because I think I already have some preconceived notions about what I think works or what I think should change. But I can see you going in, Carlos, and really considering all the different viewpoints and putting people at ease if they're not necessarily agreeing with you.
I appreciate you both raising your hand for this. I tend to agree. I don't think, I think you both would be very good at it. I do pause, Greg, I don't want anyone in the select board to be leading this process. To me, I really want this to be sort of the residents that are on the committee. And so I know we will look at how town staff can support them, and I do agree, we want to be there to support it and guide it, but I don't want to heavily influence it, because I do want it to be a little bit more arm's length, for those that have been, chosen to take up the charge. So that is also why I would be voting for Carlos to be our appointed member to this, but would rely on you to bring back anything that we can do to support it. If you see them sort of needing stronger leadership, how we can do that, but not have it feel as though we're overbearing in the process. So, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we appoint Carlos Garcia to the Form of Government Study Committee.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 4-1. Item number 15 is to review and act on the appointment of precinct officers to serve a one-year term expiring on August 31st, 2026. Our town clerk, Sharon Thomas, has prepared a list of the recommended appointments for precinct officers. So all of the precinct officers are reappointments, with the exception of 3 new members who have prior experience as tellers and indicated they were interested in becoming more involved in administering elections.
I'm just really grateful for all of these people who step forward. I think even, the current climate in the world right now, elections are so important, and the integrity and maintaining the integrity of elections is very important. And I'm just really proud of our community, and I know that, the clerk works hard at making sure that people feel confident in our electoral process, and I'm really grateful for all of these people that are stepping forward to help with that. And so I'm happy to move that we appoint precinct officers to serve a one-year term expiring on August 31st, 2026.
I do have one question.
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
All right.
I just had a question as why, and I don't, this is just curiosity, why there's no clerk for, I thought it was, is it for the polling location? Because 5 and 10 are together and there's no clerk there versus a lot of the other precincts. So is there a rhyme or reason why there would be a clerk somewhere and not someplace else? Because I think that's the only spot I see that in the building there isn't an actual clerk.
Well, oh no, because aren't 7 and 8 together?
7 and 8 are
Yeah,
together.
it's
Yeah.
5 and 10 that there's no clerk,
Sorry,
and
there's
5
no-
or 10, and that they're in the
Okay.
same building. I don't know if it matters, I just noticed it.
We rely upon the recommendation of the clerk to bring this over, but,
Definitely.
so I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I'll have to get you an answer.
We can pend this vote until we get an answer on that, if you'd be more comfortable.
I'm just curious to know if it's
Yeah, I mean, that's a
required.
good
I don't
question.
know if there's a rule, because I mean, I know in the overview, but it explained what the roles were, and the clerk was documenting or recording, so I figured, yeah, at least one in the polling location, but that's, one polling location does not have a clerk.
Mm.
Maybe it doesn't
I wonder
matter.
if there weren't enough people, and so the
Yeah, I
one
don't know.
does what the clerk does.
Maybe it doesn't matter, I don't know. Be good to get clarification. I don't know that we have to hold the vote, but
We could take the vote contingent upon confirming
Sure.
that a clerk is not needed or is otherwise represented in those
Yep,
precincts.
we'll
and
follow up with you tomorrow.
Could we make a note to provide the answer
Yeah.
in our next meeting?
So moved with the condition.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Move to correspondence. So items 16, 17, and 18 are related to agenda item number 15 from our last meeting from Kristen Holovnia, Julie Boris, and Maureen Harrington. We did address this topic at our last meeting. Item number 19 is an email dated August 13th, 2025 from Sam Rajwani, a Shrewsbury High School student from the class of 2026 regarding water fluoridation at fall town meeting. So board members will recall that Mr. Rajwani presented to our board earlier this year regarding fluoridation in our water and has sent an email to the board asking us to consider a warrant article at our fall town meeting to remove fluoride from Shrewsbury water. I think we were pretty clear that what the process is, but part of the legal process, while town meeting cannot vote to remove it, it can initiate a process for special legislation. I think what I'm going to do is ask board members to speak with Mr. Mizikar on your opinions of whether or not this is something you want considered for a town meeting article, and then we'll figure out at a future meeting if this is something that requires further discussion and determine how to follow up with Mr. Rajwani.
So, just as a follow-up, Mr. Rajwani is asking for an article to petition, for the town meeting to request the select board petition the legislature, correct? About removal of fluoride. So there would be a referendum.
Correct.
So does this then cut out the Board of Health? Is this
Yeah.
overstepping like what the Board of Health's authority is?
Yes, and that is the reason that special legislation would be required. So right now, the Board of Health has the opportunity or the authority to remove it if they didn't think that it was a public health need any longer. And the only way to have a body other than town meeting, or excuse me, than the Board of Health take action on this would be to petition the legislature to allow for a referendum, which is allowable anytime fluoride is added to a new drinking water system. There's a right for referendum within 90 days of a Board of Health making that decision. So that is the process that's being pursued through our town meeting. I
Because-
think this specific request is that the select board sponsor that article at town meeting.
Because the fluoride was put in the water in the 50s, and so that 90-day period has since lapsed.
Correct, yep.
Is it also my understanding, though, that even if this whole process came to fruition, it would only be good for 2 years?
Yes, and at that point, if the Board of Health chose to reintroduce fluoride back in the water, they would have to vote to do so, and then that would trigger another referendum for the town, potentially for an individual to come forth and ask for another referendum of the town to prevent it from being added at that time.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Rajwani came to office hours a couple weeks ago when Michelle Conlon and I were there. And I told him I can only speak for myself, that this was not something that I personally would be advocating to the town to consider. That I have not heard from enough residents that this is something that is a priority for them. There are certainly other avenues that Mr. Rajwani can go down that I think Mr. Mizikar has outlined for him. This young gentleman, I really do appreciate his ambition with this. Feels as though it would send a more clear message to town meeting if it's something supported by the select board. I told him I disagreed with that, but that's a separate issue. But I think I just would want each of you to tell the town manager if it is something, and honestly, if it's something that a majority or the entire board feels like it's something that we would want to actively place on the town meeting warrant, then that would be a consideration as we prepare for the initial drafts of the warrant for the fall town meeting, so.
And if I may, like, that process will start with your next meeting, the first meeting in September. We'll review an initial draft warrant, and then you would sign the warrant at your second meeting in September. And then we'd be off and running on the public hearing process and everything to get to a special town meeting.
I guess for me, it's like less about fluoride and more about the staff time it takes to prepare those articles, right? And so that's sort of the thinking that I'm going to go through, right? If it's a citizen's petition, then the work and onus is on the citizen for whom this is an important issue. But when it becomes something that gets put on the warrant by the select board, then it's town staff that is required to do the work around the article. So I guess that's what I would be thinking about as I speak with the manager.
I mean, that wasn't my experience with the citizens petition because, well, if I would have done it correctly, so I do admit that if I would have followed the right process, it would have been different. But, I mean, Mr. Mizikar was very helpful when I met with him, and he was helping draft in language. So I don't know that there's any less work for town staff with a citizens petition versus writing the same language that you're essentially assisting a resident to make sure that it meets a standard. Am I wrong on that? And essentially, I guess my opinion on this is all we're asking is essentially to put something on the vote to the town and ask the town to make a decision. Let the town choose at large what they want to do. That's what we're asking. I know it's specifically regarding fluoride in the water, but we're just going to the town and saying, what does Shrewsbury want to do with Shrewsbury's drinking water? Is that a fair
And I think
assessment?
that's what a town, I
Yeah.
personally feel like that's what a citizen's
Yeah.
petition is for, and it's quite easy to accomplish, but I do agree that it's my responsibility. I mean, we can't just take every request from every resident and put it on, like, we could have countless items. Like, you can't just, like, everything is subject to a vote. I mean, we were elected to perform certain functions, and part of that is to make recommendations to the town. And so I think I want to know, is this a recommendation that this board wants to make? It's not something I necessarily even want to deliberate at this point. I think have your conversations with the town manager, and if there's enough interest there, we can bring it forward. And if not, I think that we would respond to this resident with our response, if everyone's comfortable with that. And items 20 and 21 are emails from Ms. Elaine Vadenese, 45 Spruce Street, regarding the front door to the town hall, and a second request regarding the front door to town hall. So at our last meeting, the door locked. And I happened to be standing right there when Miss Vadenese was trying to get in, so I was able to let her in, but she did question why the door locked. And apparently there's a timing mechanism, so we have to manually unlock it on days, and that was not done immediately at 6:30. So I do think that you, Mr. Mizikar, have instructed town staff to make sure that the doors are unlocked when there are meetings, just so we're not inconveniencing.
It is, and to
residents.
be honest with you, the standard that we've set with town staff for a number of reasons, which I'm happy to explain, is 15 minutes prior to the meeting. And that has to do with how we compensate hourly staff and who's responsible for opening the door. It's our goal to have it open as soon as someone's ready, so that's either the lead administrative staff member, or SMC is often here, and once they get the meeting set up, they'll often go down and unlock the door as well. But the doors for the building lock at the end of business hour every day, so that's the system that we have. The evening schedule is not consistent enough for us to be able to just unlock the door on the automatic timer. So we do just, have a simple schedule set up. But our instruction is to staff that it's open 15 minutes before the meeting, so that is our standard. So that's what we'll continue to do, but everyone will be admitted into a building, and it'll be opened up for the entire duration of the meeting.
Yeah, so we apologize for this inconvenience. Mr. Dobson, would you mind responding to Ms. Vadenese with
I can do
our
that.
corrective action and our apologies for the inconvenience? I take responsibility as the chair, for not having responded to this email as of yet. I thought there was a response, and there was not. And so I will personally apologize to her for the delay. That was on me.
May I ask a quick question? Is it possible to have the hours of town hall and sort of like some clarity on that policy, like posted somewhere, that we're open later on Tuesday evenings, close earlier on Fridays, and then that, the door should be unlocked 15 minutes prior to a public meeting? I think if I remember, being here, I think it was 2 weeks ago when this happened, it was in that in-between hour. It was somewhere between 6 and 6:45 that the doors were locked. It actually happened this evening when I arrived, around 6:30, and the doors were locked. But having some clarification on what residents can expect when they arrive here if the doors are locked, knowing that, at X time is when it should be open.
Sure. And the building is open on Friday afternoons during the modified time, because the school department and Selco are still open at those times. We will clearly note that as well.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
that concludes our agenda, so if there is not anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you and good evening.